Once you sit down and the examiner starts the recording, they'll quickly ask you a few identification questions. Your name, where you're from, and check your passport. We discuss these questions in this video. What many IELTS test takers don't realize is that the first set of questions that follows right after is very predictable. It's either about where you live or what you do. So let me show you how to give answers that will tell the examiner that you're a candidate for a high score. Okay, let's get started. The examiner uses this first part of the test to form an impression, and during this opening phase is already making a mental note of your band score. Could be a good 7 or sounds like a 6 so far. Of course, your band score can go up or down as the test goes on, but this opening set of questions is your chance to show the examiner your English at its best. This is how it all begins for real. Now, in this first part of the test, I'd like to ask you some questions about yourself. Let's talk about our first topic, your hometown. Let's look at some sample questions. Think if these are good answers or if something could be improved. I've hidden a few common mistakes in some of those answers in this video, so can you spot them? And the first question is, do you come from a city, a town, or a village? I'm from a town about 100 kilometers east of the capital city. It's on the coast, so there are some great beaches, and we also have a lot of green spaces like parks and gardens. Apart from when I went to study at university in the capital, I've lived there all my life. Did you learn about the history of your hometown at school? Not a lot, to be honest. I mean, nobody famous ever came from there. Although we learned a bit about how the town grew from being a small fishing village to what it is today, a tourist destination because of the beaches and the natural beauty all around. Is your hometown a good place for young people? I suppose so. It can get pretty lively in the summer. There is a part of town where there are some great cafes and places to hear live music. The location is amazing because of the sea being so close and the hills that surround the town. It's perfect if you want to practice all kinds of aquatic sports or go hiking. On the other hand, it's a bit quiet during the off-season. Or when there aren't many tourists around, a lot of places close down, and it may get pretty boring. Were these answers any good? I think these are at least a band 8, or maybe even higher depending on how the student progresses through other parts. These were good answers, no hidden mistakes. And there are 2 important points to note. First of all, with your answers, try to be as spontaneous and natural as possible. And also, try to give a short explanation or reasons. For example, it's generally a good place for young people because of this and that. On the other hand, and then give some drawbacks, extending your answer. Remember that the examiner will ask you 3 questions and would like this part of the test over in around 90 seconds. Instead of being asked about your hometown, you may get questions about your home. Let's talk about where you live. Do you live in a flat or a house? A house. It's where my family lives. I live with my parents and my younger sister. We moved there just after she was born. What do you like about your house? My room and the kitchen. I spend most of my time in one or the other. In the future, what kind of house would you like to live in? I've always dreamt about living in a big house with a beautiful garden and a lovely view of the countryside. What do you think about these answers? Too short. Well, not even close to 90 seconds. You know, one former examiner once told me that a test taker who doesn't say much was her worst nightmare. So don't be a nightmare. You know what would happen in a real exam? Well, the examiner is reading their questions from the examiner's booklet. Remember that it's not until part 3 of the speaking test that the examiner has any real choice in what to say or what questions to ask you. In part 1, the questions themselves cannot be altered. The only follow-up question that is allowed is why or why not. So let's go over the first question again. Do you live in a flat or a house? So the same short answer, a house. We moved in when my sister was born. Why? Well, we needed the space, I guess. Why? Because the house where we lived before was a bit cramped. It only had 2 bedrooms, and so my parents decided to find something bigger. That's better. Even better if you do it straight away without being interrogated with why questions. Giving fuller answers will allow you to link your ideas better and use more complex sentences in your answers. Of course, even people who are quite talkative might need a little push to speak from time to time. But always try to give some kind of a full answer to each question. Instead of questions about where you live, the examiner may ask you about what you do, work, or study. Your answer to this question will determine the follow-up questions. And whether you work or study yourself, listen to both sets of answers because I've hidden there some great lessons everyone will benefit from. Let's talk about what you do. Do you work or study? I work. I've been with a multinational company in the manufacturing sector for quite a while. What kind of work do you do? I'm what you would call a financial accountant. This means I'm responsible for gathering and monitoring financial data and then preparing statements on balance sheets and income, as well as forecasting costs and revenues on a monthly, quarterly, and yearly basis. Thank you. What's the problem here? It sounds prepared, almost like a job description. The examiner won't be interested in all these details and will interrupt and move on to the next question. Remember, never give a prepared or learned speech. You'll be wasting your time, not improving your score. Also, if you're talking about your job or studies, never get too technical or detailed. The examiner wants to test your English, not your job knowledge. It's much better to talk in simpler terms. Let's try again. What kind of work do you do? I'm a financial accountant. That means I collect and analyze company financial data and other things like tax and audits to make sure that side of business is running smoothly. It's a lot of responsibility, but I like it. Much better. Why did you choose to do this kind of work? Ever since I can remember, I was always good with numbers. And when it was time to decide on a university course, accounting looked like something I'd enjoy. Also, I have an uncle who's an accountant, and he told me a few things about the kind of work it involves, and it sounded interesting. Do you think you work too hard? Well, you have to work under a lot of pressure. And especially if you're closing the month or doing an audit, you find yourself working all hours until late in the evening and weekends too. Now, what if you don't work? What if you study? Let's go back to the first question. Let's talk about what you do. Do you work or study? I'm a student. This answer is very short, so you should try to give more details in the next answer. What do you study? Chemical engineering. In some places, they call it process engineering. It's all about finding ways to make industrial and manufacturing processes work perfectly. Factory production lines, that type of stuff. At school, chemistry was my favorite subject, and that's why I applied to do chemical engineering. In fact, we don't do much engineering or much chemistry. It's more about processes. That was just the right level of technicality in the answer. Next, what is the most difficult part about your subject? For me, writing stuff. I'm fine with numbers and all that, but when it comes to writing, it's a real pain. When we have to do those lab reports, it takes me ages to write stuff. Happy about this answer? I'm not. It's a little too informal. This test taker does use the word stuff a lot, twice in this answer and once before. It's a great little word you can use to replace a noun you don't know once, but don't overuse it. And let's also change the very colloquial or informal "it's a real pain" to something neutral. Basically, there is nothing wrong with using informal language, but try to mix it with more precise and slightly more formal language to show the examiner your range of vocabulary and that you can use more complex structures. Let's try again. For me, it's the written assignments. I'm fine with numbers and calculations, but when it comes to writing, I struggle. We do courses that include laboratory work, and we're expected to write weekly reports on what we've done. It takes me ages to finish one. That's much better. Next. How useful will your studies be for you in the future? Extremely useful. I'd love to work in food production, and what I'm studying, finding ways to optimize processes, would help me to hopefully devise new techniques to increase production. I've had an offer to do an internship in a large multinational company later this year, and I can't wait to get some real hands on experience. These answers showed us an interesting mix of well constructed thoughts in terms of vocabulary and grammar, like finding ways to optimize processes, devise new techniques to increase production, and some excellent, more informal language. I'm fine with numbers, it takes me ages, or get some real hands on experience. IELTS speaking test questions vary. Here are a few more possible questions you may be asked. Sets of questions are changed every few months, and of course, they are recycled over time. You can find detailed answers and vocabulary for most common and most challenging IELTS speaking topics in our IELTS speaking library. You can also download just the questions for free on our Telegram channel. All the links are in the video description box below. By the way, did you know that IELTS examiners ask 12 main types of questions in IELTS speaking exams? Learning what these are and how to answer them can really make a difference. So watch this video here, and thank you so much for watching me today. Good luck with your preparation and your exam. Bye!